Thanks for joining us today, guys. Today we are joined by Simon Ree, all the way from Singapore, and so excited for him to share a little bit about his background and perspective with us today. So without further ado, Simon, you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Hey, Liam. Sure thing. Thanks for having me. So as Liam said, my name's Simon. I spent a good 25 years working in the banking industry, specifically sort of investment banking and private wealth. And I came out of that industry in 2017. So just a little bit of a backstory on how I got into the industry. I worked, my first job out of uni was as a futures broker. This was back in 1991. And, I'd been inspired by things like the 1987 stock market crash, which happened in my second last year of high school, and movies like Trading Places. And I just always found the idea of being involved in markets very exciting, very dynamic. And I was right. It's a very dynamic space to be in. But I worked as a futures broker. We were trading the pork bellies and the frozen orange juice. But at the end, the vast bulk of the money that we made was hedging wheat for farmers, which actually wasn't that exciting. So I went on from there to work as a corporate credit analyst for 3.5 years at a corporate bank. And then it was in 1996, I joined Goldman, and that was really when my, career in markets really took off. And given my background in futures broking and my knowledge in financial derivatives, I built a business around options, helping clients navigate the equity market with the use of options. And in 2005, I was asked to head up and run and found the markets desk for Goldman Sachs in Australasia, based in Sydney. So I did that for 5 years between 2005, 2010. Then I moved to Singapore to join Citibank, where I worked with some of the wealthiest billionaires right across Asia and Australia, helping them manage their wealth. And I guess I just reached a point in my career. I was in my mid-40s, and I thought, what am I doing? What is my marginal contribution to society? And I didn't really like the answers I was coming up with. And I thought, I've developed a really good skill set here over the years. It's time to put that skill set to use for people who can actually benefit from it, rather than people who are already wealthy beyond most people's wildest dreams. And so that's when I got into the education business and decided to share my skill set with the broader world.
How did, I'm assuming that you obviously became you grew your own wealth as you were growing your clients' wealth over that time. And I'm assuming that allowed you to step away and kind of focus on education. But, education seems like the output, right? And there's a lot that you would have to go through to develop the content, the materials, et cetera. What drove you to, that output of education as the kind of way of increasing that marginal contribution to society?
I guess something I'd learned about myself is that I love teaching. Well, I love sharing knowledge. In addition to being a trader, I'm also a Jeet Kune Do instructor, and martial arts have been a part of my life for most of my life. And even as a kid, whenever I was learning a new technique, I would ask myself, how would I teach this to somebody else? How would I explain what I'm doing to somebody who's never seen or done it before? And that led me down a path to wanting to become an instructor, or, you might say a black belt. But Bruce Lee didn't believe in belts. So there's no black belt in Jeet Kune Do, but I've got a certificate that says I'm a qualified instructor. And that's something that I really enjoyed. And, I've just, through various facets of my life, I took up kite surfing a few years ago. I'm a terrible kite surfer. I've got zero business teaching anyone how to kite surf. But I remember during my lessons, holding the kite and getting up on the board, asking myself, how would I teach this to somebody else? How would I get somebody else up on a kite and surfing? And it's just something that I've always enjoyed. And I thought, well, this is trading and financial markets is what I've devoted the greatest amount of my life and expertise to. I'm going to make it work, and I find that that moment when somebody that you're working with, when you see that light bulb go on, you see that penny drop, it is the most rewarding experience.
Yeah, there's it's hard to quantify, right? But the internal impact that that has is just massive, right? And that's part of why I left the corporate world as well, right? Was to have a bigger impact on society, on my kids, right? Being able to be more present in their life and be able to, you know, be an instructor, so to speak, with them as they were growing up, right? Which I didn't have with my parents to the same extent. And yeah, the light bulb moments are truly life changing. They're really exciting. Sure.
Yeah.
Um, as you reached a point of profitability, right, whether it was through your banking career or through, you know, your education business, what's the strategic framework that you used in terms of where to put your money and where to reinvest, right? Were you following the same trading strategies that you were teaching clients? Were you investing elsewhere? Right? Did you go upgrade the house, go on more vacation? Like, how did you think about where to allocate the dollars to either drive more efficiency or returns, right? Like, what was your thinking?
I mean, I had a trial by fire in terms of developing the trading systems that I now use and teach. In 2008, we had the global financial crisis. And I mean, I lost a life-changing sum of money during that. And that was as a result of me listening to whom I thought were the smartest guys in the room, Goldman Sachs, buy the dip, this stock's undervalued, keep buying. At the end of the year, I was like, wow, you know, that was not fun.
You dollar cost averaged all the way down, huh?
Yeah, I did. And yeah, I mean, obviously it sort of over time, it sort of came back, but that was what really drove me to come up with a better way of navigating financial markets. And yeah, I was very fortunate to have been working at Goldman at that time, which was Goldman was in its heyday in terms of prop trading back then. That was before Dodd-Frank and various other acts were introduced. And so I knew some of these prop traders, and I take them out for lunch, take them out for a beer, and say, you know, how do you do what you do? And oh, we don't listen to the research. We don't care what those guys have got to say. We follow price action. And a light bulb went on for me at that point. I went, right, this is what I'm going to devote all of my extracurricular activities to. And so, you know, I went through several years where a lot of my mates were playing Call of Duty on Xbox Live, and I wasn't joining them because I was on my Bloomberg screen backtesting trading systems. So, but in terms of the what to do with or how your approach to managing wealth changes, it's a case of when you've no longer got the daily stress of putting a roof over your head and food on your table, it just gives you freedom of thought to think about how best to allocate not only your capital but your time. For me, I've got a pot of money that I use for trading, and that has grown obviously somewhat over the years. But I don't want to put all of my wealth in trading, so that the trading is what now puts food on the table, roof over the head. But the money that I make in excess of that, I tend to take that out of the market and I put it into things like gold, physical gold, property, very, very, very small amount into things like Bitcoin. But I try and get them out of the markets that I'm trading and generating my, daily income from.
When you say property, is that in Singapore? Is that Australia? Is that kind of where?
Both. Yeah, both.
Have you gone beyond that, or just staying in the markets that you're most familiar with?
Just staying in the markets that I know. Yeah, I'm very, very parochial about, well, I think property is a fairly parochial market anyway, but I'm certainly very parochial about it.
That makes perfect sense. Very common, right? And being able to at least be hands-on when in times of need. So as you've developed this trading platform, what are some of the core tenets of the teachings, in the Tao of trading?
Well, we start off by breaking down or basically smashing the 5 big myths of Wall Street. All right. So there's myth number 1 that I go through in my book is that a 10% return per annum is a fantastic return. I mean, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. It's better than 0.2% in a bank account. But depending on where you are in your wealth journey, 10% per annum it's unlikely to be life-changing unless you're very young and you can keep putting money into that strategy over many, many years. If you're a little bit older, if you're in your 40s and you're wondering how am I going to save for retirement, 10% per annum is probably not likely to really cut it for you. Now, the reason why Wall Street wants everyone to believe that 10% per annum is a great return is that is approximately the long-term annual return of the S&P 500, which means they can generate that return for you over the long term on average in their sleep. But they get to charge a whole bunch of fees for doing that. All right. It's very, very profitable, very scalable business for them. So that's the first myth that I like to break down. People talk a lot about compounding, compound interest. Einstein said compound interest was the eighth wonder of the world. And it is if it's applied sensibly and in a more proactive sense. I mean, you stick your money in a bank right now with interest rates where they are, you might double your money, what, once every 5 or 6 generations? Not very exciting. But if instead of earning 10% per year, what if you could earn 5% per month? All right. And what you can do with trading is compound your returns on a monthly basis. You know, say you start with $5,000 and at the end of month one, you're sitting there at, $5,250, right? You then take slightly bigger position sizes. And at the end of each month, as your account grows, you take slightly bigger position sizes and you can compound on a monthly basis rather than an annual basis. And through regular compounding, you can create life-changing returns, well within a 10-year period.
Are you achieving that through a call put strategy where you're essentially locking in returns versus moving with the market? Or are you saying generally as the market moves, you're locking in and taking out 5% and then taking new positions?
So I look at the 5% is on a portfolio basis, and you'll need to take a couple of trades to get there. Now I trade options exclusively, and if you haven't traded options before, these numbers might sound a bit strange, but if you want to earn 5% per month on your account, all you have to do is risk 5% of your account on an options trade that makes you a 50% return. Now, that might sound like a big number, but that's actually a fairly average return when you're trading options. You do that twice. You find 2 trades in a month where you can do that, and you've made your 5% per month. Now, obviously, not every trade's going to be a winner. So you might take 6 trades a month, and maybe 4 of them are winners and 2 of them are losers. But you still come out ahead. You still come out well ahead. Losses, unfortunately, are part and parcel of trading. They are just a business expense. A lot of people get very upset with losses. They feel as though they've made a mistake or they've done something wrong. And look, mistakes are possible, but losses are also part of the game because we're always playing with probabilities. We're never playing with certainties. And all we're doing is putting the odds in our favor. But it takes time for probability to work its magic. So you only see the magic unfold after dozens and dozens of trades. And trying to assess your trading performance at the end of one trade is very, very pointless.
Is there an asymmetry of information that allows some people to be better at identifying the winning trades and the probabilities, or is it truly just a probability game?
There's some asymmetry between how good traders trade and how struggling traders trade. Now, when people get into trading, all they want to learn initially is what's the setup? What settings do I use on my MACD? What moving averages do you use? And it's a little bit like a new golfer saying, what clubs should I buy? What golf club should I use for this shot? They're very focused kind of on the gear, if you like. You want to get through that fairly quickly because the final frontier in trading is a combination of risk management and your trading mindset. And this is a little bit like a golfer accepting that I'm going to play around the golf and I'm going to hit a few bad shots and I'm okay with that. It's like a trader saying, I'm going to put a bunch of trades on over the next month. Some of them are going to lose money and I'm okay with that. Because if you win more than you lose and your winners are bigger than your losers, you come out well on top. And you can actually, once your account grows, you can make a very good living from that.
That makes sense. If there are people who are thinking about taking a portion of their profitability, their portfolio, and engaging in trading, where should they start?
Start small. Start small until you've grooved the practice, grooved the process of trading, and you've got to the point where you make a loss in a trade, and you're like, it invokes about as much emotion as going down to the shops and buying toner for your printer. All right. Because that's essentially what you're doing. It's a business expense. The other reason to start small is if you start too big, the losses will have an emotional impact on you. You'll feel the sting of the loss. And when that happens, you can get into a very negative downward psychological spiral, trying to trade your way out of a hole, trading harder, trading more, over trading, efforting, and none of that works in trading. If you want to trade well, you really want to be in the zone. And there's a wonderful book by Mark Douglas called Trading in the Zone, which I recommend to everybody. It really helps you get your head right for trading. I think it's essential reading for anybody getting into this business. But yeah, my key tip is start small. Start with a sum of money that if lost, it wouldn't affect your ability to pay the rent or put food on the table. Not because you're going to lose that money, but just to reduce the emotional impact that losses, which are inevitable, are going to have on your mindset.
How much time should someone think that they're going to spend, right, implementing or starting to trade, likely on the side of something else that they're doing, right, to be able to get into a groove?
That is an awesome question. I think for the first month or so, when you're still learning the ropes, it's probably going to be 10 to 15 hours a week. All right, realistically, you could certainly spend less time than that, but it just might take you a little bit longer. But if you want to be up and running within a couple of months, I think minimum of 10 hours a week is probably where it's at, 10 to 15. Once you've grooved the process and you're used to your broker's platform and you're used to running your scans, I think trading should take on average about 20 minutes a day. The beauty of the program that I share with my members is we teach you how to hunt for high probability setups using scans, and they only take seconds to run. And that way you're left with a short list of maybe half a dozen, maybe a dozen stocks to analyze, rather than pouring through hundreds of charts every day.
I love the efficiency. There's definitely a economist side of you that lives in there, which is great. I resonate well. If you were to go back and look to your earlier years in life where you were starting to make money, would you do anything different now that you've got the knowledge that you do than you did then?
Yeah, I would have backed myself earlier, and I would have started down this path a lot sooner. You've come from the corporate world as well, so you know that the title, the business card, the business class air travel, the assumed prestige that comes with success in a corporate environment. It can be hard to walk away from. Not to mention that regular paycheck that, provided you don't do something really bad, just kind of magically appears in your account every month. These things are tough to walk away from. But it's there's a big downside there as well. Okay, like having to ask another person's permission to take 2 weeks off a year, not being able to attend all of your kids' sporting events and important little events, and being too busy to be present for your kids, and always checking your email and that sort of thing. There's a big downside that comes with all of that, and nothing can compensate me now for the freedom that I've got having left all of that behind.
What was that light bulb moment for you in terms of the walking away, right? Because you talked about marginal contribution to society.
Yeah.
And you also talked about the impact that and the presence with the family and the quality time there, which is much harder to quantify in an economic model in terms of the utility itself, right? So at what was it multiple bulbs that went off at different stages for you, or was it kind of one big one that said, this is the direction I need to go?
Okay, I was working for an investment bank at the time, and my wife and I, we'd moved back to Perth from Singapore for family reasons. There was just some things we needed to attend to, and I was living in Perth but commuting to Sydney every week, and it's only a four-hour flight, but in summer in particular, it's a 3-hour time zone difference, and that's tough to do that every week. And then they sort of said, look, we really like you, but we want you to work out of Sydney full time. And we want you to move to Sydney ASAP. And I thought, this just doesn't work for me. I'd rather be back in Singapore than in Sydney because the time zone difference. And really that was what galvanized me. I said, right, that's it. Thank you. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to leave and I'm going to do my own thing.
Mine was, they asked me to go to Cleveland and I said,
all right,
I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah.
and galvanized me out the door, right? And
Yeah.
just helped refocus priorities.
But,
Um,
I probably would have allowed myself to be dragged to Sydney with my tail between my legs if I hadn't been, I guess, formulating an exit strategy. If I didn't have this kind of this burning desire within me.
if I didn't have a wife and or kids, I probably would have been in Cleveland, right? For all the reasons you articulated, right? The prestige, the moving up, the pampering that you get as you move up in the corporate levels is very accommodating and tough to walk away from, right? And if you don't
Yeah.
have someone who's grounding you somewhere, right, and providing that other side, I think I would have been lost, right, and still floating around in the corporate world. So yeah, huge. Um, What's the most exciting thing you're working on today that when you get up in the morning, you're like, I'm excited, I'm get to go spend time on X?
So part of what I offer my members is I call it the Accelerate program, but that's where they get a daily video from me. So it's a monthly subscription service, but all of the members, they get a video from me every day on what I'm seeing in the markets, macro conditions, trades I'm in, trades I'm looking at taking. And, you know, I've got a genuine passion for financial markets. I love talking about them. I love, being able to record my thoughts every day and share them with people and get the feedback and engage in discussion. And yeah, I'm just a bit of a market nut like that. So that's kind of something I look forward to every day. I love doing it.
That's
I
really
love having the forum, that enables me to do it.
Yeah, and a way to give back and create engagement along the way as
Yeah.
well, which is really cool. If you were to offer one piece of advice to, entrepreneurs who are going through that point and getting to profitability, what would that one thing be for them that you would leave for them?
I think just keep investing in yourself and backing yourself. Don't get distracted. Don't get worried. If times are tough, just keep pushing. We've all had really tough moments in life. Okay, it's what life is all about. And what I've learned is when you're going through something that's really difficult, chances are with 2 years down the track, you'll be able to laugh about it. And even if you can't, you'll have a really good story. So just keep pushing.
Yeah, you will. One way or another, you'll have a good story, right?
Yeah.
Simon, what's the best way for the audience to be able to connect back with you?
So I've got a special offer for your audience. If they go to Tao of Trading, that's TAOOFTRADING.com, taoftrading.com/PP. They can download the first chapter of my book for free, see if they like that. And they can also access some of my programs at a pretty hefty discount.
Awesome. Really appreciate that offer out to the audience, Simon. We'll make sure we get that into the show notes for everyone as well. And amazing to be able to take advantage and connect back with you. So appreciate that value add for everyone.
My pleasure.
Appreciate your time today, Simon. Appreciate the thoughts and look forward to reading your book.
Been a pleasure, Liam. Thank you.
All right. Take care.